to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you are overseas and on the move, US listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you are in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live in the first watch today. Love and family behind bars. And in second watch, snapshots of news. At least 36% of Jamaicans are unhealthy. That's one of them. Another is tourism saving Jamaica, or will black gold? Another, political ignorance. For what are we demonstrating? Among other things, perhaps. For our social media question, we ask, should inmates be given conjugal visits? Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp. 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your response later on in the program, but first, as I quote.
All right, good morning, good morning, good morning. Today's I quote says, real growth is when you start correcting yourself instead of blaming others.
In other words, no excuses.
Take the stick out to your eye first.
No excuses,
Right.
no excuses. Good morning,
Good
Jakal.
morning.
The first watch. We'll be back after this break.
I rise to give you glory.
Feel the soul-stirring power of music that speaks to the heart. Introducing gospel recording artist Evangelist Shernet Wilson, a voice of inspiration carrying the gospel with passion, purpose, and praise. With every note, Evangelist Shernet Wilson brings a timeless message of hope, faith, and redemption, wrapped in melodies that will lift your spirit and inspire your soul. Don't miss her album Still I Rise, available on all digital platforms. It's more than music, it's a movement of faith. Let the gospel music touch your heart. Evangelist Shernet Wilson, spreading the gospel, one song at a time.
Listen this Thursday, June 12 at 10:15 a.m. for Intro with Evangelist Shernet Wilson. She'll talk about her music. We'll get to hear her songs. Don't you miss it.
I rise to give you glory.
This Thursday, June 12, on the truly marvelous program To Have and to Hold, join Dr. Colleen Beckles and co-host Pastor Napoleon Black for an important conversation about the impact of listening in a marriage. Why is truly listening to your spouse one of the strongest ways to build trust and keep love alive? How can better listening help heal conflicts and deepen your connection? It's the truly marvelous program with host Dr. Colleen Beckles and Pastor Napoleon Black. Tune in as they share practical tips and advice to help couples communicate better and grow stronger together. Don't miss the discussion this Thursday, 5:30 p.m. To Have and to Hold on the family station Love 101.
I'm gonna sing of the goodness.
Get your CC Winans tickets right here at Love 101, 81 Hagley Park Road, $6,000 regular and $20,000 VIP. Don't miss out!
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the main watch, the first watch, and in a National Correctional Services policy, the prison reform proposal, you could call it the Correctional Services proposal as well, I suppose, includes the pushing of radical conjugal visits for inmates. radical conjugal visits for inmates. That sounds interesting. I wonder how that would play out. We have as our guest this morning to discuss this very, can I say, unique topic. Associate clinical psychologist, Tea House Therapy, Sonia Winter, and president of the Prison Fellowship Jamaica, Lee Gordon. Audley Gordon, Sonia Winter, good day.
Good morning. Hi, Stokeley.
Morning.
Good day to you both. Audley Gordon, can we start with you?
Sure.
As president of the Prison Fellowship Jamaica, well, first of all, give us a little bit of background. What is Prison Fellowship Jamaica?
Background can be very lengthy, but just in a nutshell, it's a group of religious volunteers, non-denominational. We have all different denominations converging in the various institutions across the world. And I say across the world because this was founded by a Chuck Colson, who was part of the Watergate scandal. And while he was in prison, he found a special relationship with Christ and decided that he would form this outfit to minister to prisoners the love of God and that redemptive grace. And so we are in over 100 countries, and Jamaica included. We have close to 500 volunteers that visit the various institutions locally. And this is on a weekly basis as the authority permits, because, the prisons are high security environments, and they don't call them prison anymore, correctional services, sorry. High security environment. And so when we do get permission, and which we always almost on a weekly basis get permission, we are in. We're doing things like Bible studies, we're doing prayer sessions, we do counseling, you name it. But it's a very, very good intervention. And most importantly, communicate that nobody is beyond God's redemptive grace.
Interesting. And the idea of conjugal visits. For those listening, would you like to elaborate what exactly is meant?
Well, a conjugal mean is that relationship between a couple, married couple, in I have to speak as a Christian, married couples, and I know that that would be challenged now in our modern society, but it's essentially that's what it is, and that relationship should not, in our view, be significantly disturbed. That closeness, that bond, should not be significantly disturbed because of some unfortunate incarceration that could have taken place with one of the spouses.
And is it that the government would be required to provide this relevant space for these conjugal visits to be done?
Well, naturally, a wife visiting a husband or a husband visiting a wife in an institution, it will make no sense, or it would do no good if there's not some level of privacy. If you're talking about a conjugal visit, you would want to see, your spouse. You probably didn't see them for a year or 2 years, whatever. I don't know what the arrangements would be in terms of frequency. But you wouldn't want to have that out in the lobby where everybody's standing up, where what sense that would make, really not much. That it would be classified as a general visit, which do happens at the institution, but a conjugal visit would have to have some level of privacy, and so the necessary arrangements would have to be made for to accommodate that.
And for the benefit of the listening public, would you mind reminding us of the other hat you wear that the public is more accustomed to, sir? If you choose to on this occasion.
No, my voice is well known. My name is well known. I'm the National Solid Waste Management Head. So yes, I'm the executive director there. But I relish the opportunity to talk using my other hat this morning.
Yes, and you are obviously not just providing public service, but you have a strong sense of, can I say, a civic duty type of mindset. Clearly,
Abso- Absolutely. We wear many hats and we
yeah.
keep ourselves out of trouble by keeping busy
Because
doing
if you are
stuff that are
involved in a
worthwhile.
militia such as this, clearly you have a certain kind of heart that reaches out to persons who have found themselves
Well, this is
on
my
a
first
particular
duty.
side of the fence.
Sure. Well, this is my first duty, because I grew up with that uh, social conscience very active.
Yeah,
I was in the scout. I was a cadet, and I was the police work for a number of years, also for 10 years.
yeah,
So my stomach, you're right, you're right, is to really do the social services, to really deal with humanity from. Yes, there's a self interest in it because you want to treat people the way you want to be treated, first of all. And so, yes, every day you get up, you think about how you can help, what you can do to help make the lives of someone better. And I will tell you, volunteerism is more fulfilling than most people would think. It's,
yeah,
it's so fulfilling. You do
yeah.
a session in the institution or you do some, you know, different, well, maybe it's a fundraiser, maybe it's something to, like we have this annual Christmas thing that we do where we provide gifts to the inmates, raise the funds and provide gifts for the inmates and so on. And we set up things like Angel Tree where we'll visit the children of inmates and so on. Some of them haven't seen their father, but we carry a little gift. We say, this is from daddy, this is from mommy. It is so refreshing.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Before we head to the break, I want to bring in Sonia Winter, Associate Clinical Psychologist. Now, psychologically, mentally, even spiritually, Sonia Winter, how does this all strike you?
I think it's quite forward thinking and it aligns with international standards because this is not the idea of conjugal and family visits to prison and those who are incarcerated is not a new idea, and it's more and more being seen as a gold standard in terms of maintaining the mental health of the incarcerated and maintaining the health of the um, partnership relationship and ultimately maintaining the health of the family. So it requires a lot more resources to implement, and that can be challenging, I imagine. But in terms of the rewards to the individual who is incarcerated and and the rewards to the society at large, it's immeasurable because it's a part of rehabilitating the individual versus um, simply just punishing them alone.
Rather than simply just punishing them alone. And this might sound as if it's not so forward thinking, Sonia Winter, but some persons may argue, why is the person who had done X or Y to my family member? Why is the person who had committed these various acts deserving of this benefit when the focus should be on ensuring that they feel the wrath of the
Uh,
punishment because of what was done, not only to the family member who might even be deceased. Maybe the victim died as a result of the acts of the person incarcerated, but
Mhm.
there could be ripple effects mentally on the minds of those left behind. Sonia Winter, unpack that for us if you can.
Sure.
Well,
I
actually, hold the thought for a second because I see we're
sure.
already upon a break. Respond after the break. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back on the Morning Watch.
Don't let freshness ditch you when you need it the most. Wash your clothes with Downy Softener to keep dazzling everyone around you from day to night. Try Downy Softener now.
Siente Downy.
Are you ready for something mega? Spend $6,500 or more before GCT. Drop your entry in the box and you can win a 2025 Hyundai Tucson. It's the Mega Wheels Tour promotion, April 5th to September 28th. Second prize, a $50,000 shopping spree every month for a year. Third prize, a $30,000 shopping spree every month for a year. Brought to you by Hyundai, Restaurant Heineken, True Milk, Rex, Walker's Wood, Downing, CPJ Daiquiri, and Carriers. Juice Concentrate. Only at Megamart. Locations island-wide. Megamart, best value by far. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Rating Gaming and Laws Act.
Government of Jamaica is investing in a C5 center. What is happening here in terms of the cameras will be fed into our national strategic coordination of the cameras and other sensors that are deployed across Jamaica. So we're not just talking about security, we're putting it in. So all the people talking about cameras and body-worn cameras, come on, man, the government knows what it is doing. And we are moving with speed and alacrity to have it installed. It is in the government's interest, in your interest, that our police officers have body-worn cameras. We don't want to have cameras that we put on and then it doesn't work. It's not about cameras, it's about an ecosystem where each officer can capture the situation that confronts them and have that evidence capture stored in a retrievable way, but in a secure way that it cannot be manipulated so that it reaches evidentiary standards for court proceeding. That is what we want. And so it takes time to build out that so that it has endurance. And that is what we're doing.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the first watch, and the topic is Love and Family Behind Bars. Our guests are Sonia Winter and Audley Gordon. Sonia Winter, an associate clinical psychologist. Sonia Winter, just before the break, you were going to respond to a question I raised, because some persons listening may say, well, look, I mean, these persons have committed all these heinous acts, and you're giving them this privilege of having conjugal visits, while either my family member was, died as a result of the acts of this person, was murdered, or they suffered in some other way, which is grave, and we are here still hurting, still in pain, and you're giving this person this benefit of having a conjugal visit. Sonia Winter.
Okay, so I think I'm not at liberty to opine on whether or not the particular individual is deserving. What I will say, though, is that the society at large is not deserving of this individual only being punished. The society at large, the individual's family and the society at large benefits from the individual being rehabilitated.
What is the benefit, Sonia Winter?
That they can become, first of all, they have a chance at restoration,
Do they need a conjugal visit to be restored?
It supports the restoration of that individual, because it ensures their mental health, but it also contributes to the health of that family.
So what about all the persons who were incarcerated before and they came out of prison and not having any conjugal visits didn't cause them any irreparable harm?
We're talking about statistics, though, Stokeley, right?
Where are your statistics? Help us.
They're global. They're global indicators.
You can present.
Global studies demonstrate that the more that this individual can still have at least this marginal role in their family, in their relationship with their partner, and in their family.
So it might make a marginal change?
Yes, it does. It does make it.
So it's marginal. It's not that important, is it? Marginal.
No, the visit is marginal, meaning depending on the frequency. I'm commenting on the frequency, but it has a profound impact on the partner, the children of the partner of the individual, the children of the individual, and the society at large.
And what about the response of the public? What about the response of the visit? I know that I'm sort of.
Yeah, one thing, let me finish though.
Edging you along.
Yes. One thing about it too, is that because it contributes to the mental health of the individual who is incarcerated, it ultimately, and there has been direct data to demonstrate this. It reduces the chance of violence within the prison as well. So the individual just has a chance at being more healthy in terms of his contribution, his or her contribution within the prison system. That's an individual who is less prone to depression, anxiety, aggression.
Let me ask you this one only because of time, Sonny Winter. You're making some very interesting points, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't think that my asking you these questions is an
No,
attempt
not at
to
all.
throw you off
These
track.
are questions in the minds of everyone, so I can understand.
Yes, but I want to raise this with you.
Mhm.
Or made an interesting point. He was speaking from the perspective of being a Christian. So, conjugal visits, not saying he's saying exclusively, but based on how he presented it at first, he was indicating for married couples. And so, if you have a married female, married male in prison receiving these conjugal visits, but the unmarried persons in the prison population or the correctional services population aren't,
Mhm.
then you will have the married ones receiving this, mental boost.
Mhm.
Their mental health is being improved to the extent that the conjugal visits are allowed for them, but the
Right.
unmarried ones aren't. And many Jamaicans are not married, and we are a religious media station, so we're not promoting fornication or any kind of activity outside of marriage, but between a man and a woman, I should add, by the way. But having said that,
Yeah.
what do you anticipate can result if only the married persons in the institutions receive these conjugal visits? And
Okay. So there has to be some administrative guidelines in how this program is rolled out. Okay. What is very important is the commitment of the individual and the responsibilities of the individual to their partner and their family.
yeah,
Okay. So you cannot have, it would not be, this is not, Stokely, this is not about, how should I say,
yeah,
just sexual satisfaction. Okay, this is about helping an individual to live up to their responsibilities in a committed family and relationship. Now you can measure that in different ways.
yeah.
If the Jamaican, what is being proposed in the Jamaican setting is that you measure commitment to the partner and to the family through marriage, then so be it, but that's not necessarily the measure implemented in all settings. Sometimes the
You
measure
mean, you mean in
in
other countries, or when you say all settings, you mean in
in
other
other
countries?
countries, in other
Okay.
countries. But what it's trying to do is ensure that this is not just a casual conjugal visit between two people.
Glad
Casual.
you raised that thought, only because of time, Sonia Winter. And we're going to bring you back in, Mr. Gordon. I want to ask you a couple of things as well before we wrap. But Sonia Winter, well, how do I come?
It's not
How do
about
I call?
casually
No, no, no.
satisfying
I'm with you. I'm with you there, Sonia Winter. But
right,
how do you qualify the party who is to attend the correction facility
right.
for the conjugal visit?
Okay, that's
Because
a great question.
you could have three ladies presenting themselves. They would like to visit a particular male at an institution, and the three females do not know about each other. But
Right.
that one male in the institution knows about the three females, obviously.
So,
So
Stokely,
they
if you don't
present
mind,
themselves, and how does the administration of the facility? Okay, so this is the one who lives at
No,
the house. This is the one who lives in St.
no,
Mary.
no.
This is the one that lives in Portland. The
right.
first one
So
happens to live in
Stokely,
Mandeville. Where? How do you do that?
right. So Stokely, I think we have to be careful that we do not um, use the more unlikely cases to
Are
then
they? Is it
penalize what's the
really
more.
unlikely? Really
Yeah, hold
unlikely,
on, hear
Sonia
me out.
Winter?
Yeah, hear me out. Yes, we have to be careful. I'm not accusing you of that, but we have to be careful
No
that we
man,
don't
no man.
use the more unlikely
What kind of
cases to then penalize the more regular cases, right? So that's number one. Number two,
Yes.
the administrative guidelines of the particular program would
Yeah.
contemplate this. So it may be how long the relationship has been
How do you
established.
prove that?
It may be how many children are there. It may be the individual's financial contribution to the family before they were incarcerated. There are a number
Suppose
of
there are
different
3 baby mothers.
variables.
Suppose there are 3 baby mothers.
Yeah, but the program.
The program would have to
No.
outline how
Would
they're
have
going to handle that.
Thank you, Sonia Winter. Let's bring back in Audley Gordon if we can, because never enough time in the morning. Watch. Very interesting conversation, by the way. I'm enjoying it, quite frankly. Audley Gordon, how do we unravel some of these challenges? That gentleman might have 2
It's
ladies.
very easy.
Yes.
And sometimes we can talk past the solution. Conjugal visits speaks to married couples.
Married? In Jamaica, legal? Let me raise a legal point with you, Mr.
Married.
That's okay, Mr. Gordon. But I want to raise a legal point with you. A legal point. And this is not about conjecture. In Jamaica, you have legal common law relationships, spouses. What about those?
No. Conjugal visits.
Yes.
In Jamaica speak to married couples, and in Jamaica that's
only
a man it's a man and a wife at this time.
At this time, okay, I see.
A man and a woman. We can speak for tomorrow. We speak to what we have.
Mr. Gordon is a legal point I'm making as an attorney. I am with you on the moral point. Personally, I am with you on the moral point. It should be husband and wife.
I can't discuss legal points, I'm not a
no,
lawyer.
man, that's fine.
I can only talk about
hold
on, Stokeley. You just have time. I can only talk about what is in front of me today.
What is in front of us today is a law that says in Jamaica, a common law relationship, union, one man unmarried and one woman unmarried, living together continuously for 5 years is a legal relationship recognized in law. So I'm just asking. Yes.
Fine. And the conjugal visit that we are talking about now is between married couples.
But it would exclude the common law relationship, sir.
So if there can be the successful argument grounded in the common law,
you could be inviting a legal challenge in court over that alone, excluding the common law.
That's what I'm saying. But what I don't think is worth debating on radio in the short time is what legal thing could happen between the unmarried couple.
Yeah, but I don't think you can leave it out of the discourse, because someone might raise a point and they would legally have a point, even though personally it might be.
I would not quarrel, Stokeley, with a legal arrangement that is acceptable. That is not, in my view, the discussion. The discussion is whether or not we should have these visits.
Oh, well.
And I'm saying, yes, we should have these visits. And I'm saying it's not only strengthen the family bond and, make for a better dynamic in terms of the prolonging of a relationship and the, sustaining of a relationship. But just look at the fact that we are big on rehabilitation and the rehabilitated value that can come from that.
Yes.
There is always risk that one consider, and my co-presenter,
Sonia Winter, yes.
Sonia spoke about the administrative guidance that would come into place.
Well,
but we are not, this is not a new thing. We're not reinventing the wheel. It has happened in several countries in the United States. I know, for example, in California, Connecticut, New York, Washington State, they do conjugal visits, and they have their statistics to back the authenticity and the results.
A quick one, Mr. Gordon, only because of time, sir. When policy-wise, in terms of a legal framework and policy framework, when do you expect this to be implemented?
I can't speak to that. What I know is that it's been on the discussion for far too long. And I think that the country, because it's highly
are you part of a group that is advocating, not only advocating, but seeking to have it implemented? And if so, what are you looking at?
We do make our contributions privately. As you know, we serve in the institution on the base of the Commissioner of Corrections. Okay. We don't have any under the chaplaincy unit. So we don't have any special muscle that we bring, but we just make our contributions privately. But rehabilitation is part of our own trust for rehabilitation. We believe there should be a new prison facility built out that is conducive to rehabilitation. I believe the current set of buildings that we have way past.
Yes.
You know what they should be. We believe that a number of and don't get me wrong, and it must be clear that a lot of rehabilitation is taking place. We are there providing some. We have schools keeping there. We have a sporting events. We have all other things to help rehabilitate people. Because ultimately,
Mr.
the
Gordon
people
and Sonia
in the
Winter.
society must know that every sentence will come to an end at some point.
Right.
And that inmate could come and be your neighbor. So it is in our collective interest to make sure that they leave the prison better than they went in.
Leave the prison better than they went in, and that is probably an excellent way upon which to end, because we are completely out of time. Orly Gordon, very interesting conversation, sir. Keep up the good work. Sonia Winter, likewise, a lot of the thoughts that we have raised, and some of the points raised need to be further examined. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and for your thoughts. Very interesting, riveting conversation. Sonia Winter, Orly Gordon, thank you so much. Listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
With Jane Bank, anything possible. With a little savings in your hand.
The time by Jan Bank is
7:31.
150,000 Jamaicans now have improved water supply through our investments over the last 5 years.
6 major projects funded by the Caribbean Development Bank are being undertaken by the Rural Water Supply Limited. This will significantly improve access and transform the lives of more than 38,000 Jamaicans.
You know, long me I will forget water run in my house and see it there. Water run through the pipe them.
brought to you by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation.
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the par, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Let's take a look now at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. And we have here in the Jamaica Observer, ditch the AG. Parliamentary Committee accepts Warmington's proposal to remove Auditor General as a commissioner of the Integrity Commission. We move to the Gleaner. Homeless man found in May Pen with head bashed in. Very sad bit of news there. And something else of concern in Loop Jamaica news. 17-year-old girl gone missing in St. Catherine. Last seen at Portmore Mall. Those and many other stories in our various news sources. Coming up next, we'll read some feedback from our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp question, which is, should inmates be given conjugal visits? If you haven't done so yet, leave your responses on our Facebook or YouTube. Love 101 FM Jamaica Live, and also WhatsApp comments and voice notes to 876-9973-125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll be right back.
I rise to give you glory.
Feel the soul-stirring power of music that speaks to the heart. Introducing gospel recording artist Evangelist Shernet Wilson, a voice of inspiration carrying the gospel with passion, purpose, and praise. With every note, Evangelist Shernet Wilson brings a timeless message of hope, faith, and redemption, wrapped in melodies that will lift your spirit and inspire your soul. Don't miss her album Still I Rise, available on all digital platforms. It's more than music, it's a movement of faith. Let the gospel music touch your heart. Evangelist Shernette Wilson, spreading the gospel, one song at a time.
Listen this Thursday, June 12 at 10:15 a.m. for Intro with Evangelist Shernette Wilson. She'll talk about her music. We'll get to hear her songs. Don't you miss it.
I rise to give you glory.
This Thursday, June 12, on the truly marvelous program To Have and to Hold, join Dr. Colleen Beckles and co-host Pastor Napoleon Black for an important conversation about the impact of listening in a marriage. Why is truly listening to your spouse one of the strongest ways to build trust and keep love alive? How can better listening help heal conflicts and deepen your connection? It's the truly marvelous program with host Dr. Colleen Beckles and Pastor Napoleon Black. Tune in as they share practical tips and advice to help couples communicate better and grow stronger together. Don't miss the discussion this Thursday, 5:30 p.m. To Have and to Hold on the family station Love 101.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. Now, for any responses to that social media question, yes, apparently there are a couple. And that social media question: should inmates be given conjugal visits? Jakal.
All right, so Cherry in Spanish Town says, I think it should be allowed as it will and would help inmates to maintain their relationships and help them with rehabilitation and reintegration into society. Also maintains relationships with families.
Interesting. And we move right into the second watch. We are going to take a look at a couple of news items of interest and, in terms of reaction, examine or consider what those might be. We have as our guest, no stranger to the Morning Watch, Dr. Paul Bourne, a social commentator. How are you, Dr. Bourne?
I am doing great, and I hope I'm doing as great as you are.
Well, thank you, sir. It means that you are, of course, I'm assuming, doing quite well, sir.
I am.
From how you sound.
I am.
No, there is one item here. At least 36% of Jamaicans are unhealthy. Is this percentage really bad? Something to worry about? 36% of Jamaicans are said to have non-communicable diseases. Lifestyle.
It has been coming for a while. And if you go back to look at some of the self-reported research that have been done by in the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, the Social and Economic Survey, they have been indicating to us that things have been actually getting to this stage for some time. At one point, we're talking about 12%, and it actually went to about 35% where persons are saying that they are not well. So we have been heading here for some time. And then there are other things that we need to incorporate into what is actually going on. The COVID-19, the post-COVID-19 issues, that things have not come back together as yet. The level of depression that we have sort of seen. Now, what that study is actually doing is looking at non-communicable diseases. Let's add other things to that now. Let's add depression. Let's add emotional damage. Let's add all the things inside of that, and then you'll realize how unhealthy many of us are.
Interesting. And Dr. Bourne, any ideas how to address this? Because some people will say
we have a culture that is based on social media to the point where persons damage themselves even by the very way they eat. Long ago, persons now will ensure that you have a particular set of things to eat. We have to move away from that, where Substantial people's diet is substantially carbohydrates.
And
Right?
a lot of fast food restaurants, fast
Fast
food
food, all
outlets,
that oil. We have got to get back to some simple things,
vendors
exercise,
telling us things that are not always so good for us.
and we have actually bought into it. Which is a
Mhm.
part of what is actually happening.
Mhm.
There's a new culture
Yes.
that is supporting this unhealthy lifestyle.
Yes, yes, yes. And even from when, even small children, when they leave school in the afternoons and there are vendors outside and there are so many lovely things to purchase, but
But
a lot of them
not,
are so sweet.
not even the vendors outside, the
Yeah.
vendors inside, the school
And the
canteen.
vendors in the school canteen, of
School
course.
canteen.
Thank you, Dr. Bourne.
We did a
Right there in the
research
school canteen.
sometime last year that found out that
Cafeteria.
something like about 40% of the children would actually go for the sweets as against even the cooked meal in the canteen. So I'm
Against
talking
even the cooked meal in the canteen.
that's the point. So it tells you how much the culture has seeped into everyone that we are into the fast food diet.
Can exercising alone, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you're not
No, we
alone.
have to change our entire mindset because we need to understand clearly. As some of us have the opportunity to be able to walk and would rather drive to where we're going as against even a little walk for 2 or 3 minutes.
But you
That's
might
the
walk,
style that we're in.
yes, but you might walk down the road and it's a lonely road and you get robbed.
No, man, come on. All of us in Jamaica knows exactly a lot of the things. Your constrictions and restrictions and culture and all of that. So I'm saying all that must be paid into your decision.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to us is we're going to have to make better decisions as what we do. Some of the very things that we eat, one of the things that we consume. I don't eat some things, all right?
Yeah.
Apart from fish, that is just about my thing for my meat. Substantially, and my weight is about the same as about 20, 30 years ago.
You're advocating against red meat, Dr. Bourne?
I'm not, but I'm just saying to you, choices. I still choices. Because
Well, I don't want to
there
ask
are
you
some
anything too
persons who
personal. I was going to
believe
ask if you eat red meat, but I'll leave that alone.
there are some persons who believe that once you make a choice, then I'm always asked, so you don't eat chicken? You really don't eat chicken? And I'm like, no, why you don't eat chicken? I say, it's a choice.
They look at you
And it's the
straight,
thing with a
right?
number of persons. They can't seem to understand that when you make a conscious decision to do something, you're not doing it for the hype or the likes. You're doing it for health. And some people will ask you, but you're going to die nevertheless.
But
That is true.
Dr. Bourne, suppose mentally, psychologically, the person is not at a point yet where they can make those sorts of decisions. They are feeling depressed, so they reach for the wrong foods. How do we tackle that root problem?
That is my thing. So you don't give yourself access to something. If you want to change, you don't give yourself access. All right. You're gonna have to move some things out of your cabinet, move some things out
So
of your
you
cupboards.
cut them off.
You're going to have to. There's no choice to it. Don't invite the devil in. And
Yes.
when something happens, you're gonna say, "Okay, then I blame the devil."
If your right hand offends, you cut it off. Yes.
And I hope you don't cut out that literally.
My right hand is still here.
Yes. But we have got to start looking at those simple things. And a part of what is actually going on is people's decision-making skills have been lowered over the time.
Yes.
And it's creating problems for a number of things that we're actually doing in society.
If your right hand offends, you cut it off. Not literally. Not literally. Dr. Bourne, changing gears a bit as we head to the break. Tourism. Is tourism saving Jamaica, or will black gold save Jamaica? You want to give it some thought before? Well, we have a couple seconds before the break. Tourism saving Jamaica, or are we looking to the oil industry?
That
Because
is,
there's oil exploration.
many research have been done on the issue relating to tourism. I don't think the tourism is really the issue. It's really the all-inclusive thing is now the issue that we need to look at, the all-inclusive tourist brand. And what does that mean for the average individual compared to what does it mean for those persons who are the owners of these all-inclusive hotels?
Yes. So your thing is not so much the industry, but are the benefits being distributed, maybe that's the wrong word, or felt tangibly by persons generally, as opposed in a more meaningful way,
Absolutely.
as opposed to be only just in the form of wages and salaries?
Absolutely. And it has been said in terms of the tourism product that something like about 70 to 80% of the income goes back overseas.
hold that thought 1 second. And of course, some persons in the communities do make money from persons who spend with them, but that's another thing to look at. On the other side of the break, we'll do so. Dr. Bourne, listeners, please stay with us. We'll be right back at the Morning Watch.
The time that Grace could move is
7:45.
The name you trust to be your friend, to be a partner by your side. For generations we have been the one you trust as your financial guide. Sagicor, building trust for generations, helping hopes and dreams to grow, building our nation. Sagicor's the name you know. Sagicor, celebrating 55 years. Building trust for generations.
Are you ready to make your business export ready? Register for the MSME Business Roadshow on March 6th from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the St. Elizabeth Technical High School, Santa Cruz. Join the Ministry of Industry, Investment and Commerce in collaboration with the Inter-American Development Bank to access MSME support, government incentives, and financing opportunities. Plus, win up to $400,000 in business cash grants. Register now for the MSME Business Roadshow at roadshow.mic.gov.jm. See you there. We've seen a lot of our customers make some good moves over the years. Whether it's sharing a hug with a friend you haven't seen in a long time or sharing a meal, Grace has been there. So let's keep making these moments together, because rest assured, every time you choose Grace, you know you're making a good move.
Always a good move when you're moving with Grace. Febreze.
Imagine getting home after a long day and it smells so amazing that it makes you smile. Try Febreze Plugs, an air freshener that delivers continuous scent for up to 50 days when you plug it in low mode. Indulge in wonderful scents for weeks with Febreze.
La 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 la.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Stokeley Marshall. We are in the second watch having a very interesting chat here with Dr. Paul Bourne, social commentator, and we're looking at a snapshot of the news. And the last one we were considering, sir, is tourism saving Jamaica oil black gold, meaning oil. Dr. Bourne, please continue.
The issue relating to black gold. Let's contemplate. Let's contextualize this issue relating to the black gold now. Let's now look at some places that have the black gold. All right, many of the places in Africa. Look at the lifestyle they live with this black gold, or even the real gold. Let's now put that in the Jamaican context. Should we just arbitrarily think that the black gold will mean that all of us will benefit, using historical and current facts as to what obtains in many of the countries that have the black gold?
Yes. So in other words, the gold is there, but who is really benefiting from it?
It goes back to the
meaning the black gold. Well, maybe there was a fraud because you could have actual gold as well, right?
Indeed.
Whether it's black gold or gold.
And that's why we need to actually think of this matter relating to corruption.
Yeah.
Whenever there is corruption in a system where resources are, who gets the resources? The corrupt practitioners. So if we were to have black gold in an environment where corruption exists, those persons who are destined to get the resources and the money and the incentives are going to go back to the corruptors.
But Dr. Bourne, someone might argue that you're accusing the government of corruption.
No, I'm not accusing the government of corruption. A number of us are practicing corruption, even in our small spaces. Let's take some simple things that we are doing and we're not seen as corrupt, even as Christians.
Yes.
We go to the bank, we're in a line, and we think we must break the line because you want to get through earlier than somebody who was in the line.
So in other words, you're speaking of corruption as well in the private sector.
I'm speaking about corruption generally.
Generally, across the board.
Our corrupt society. There's evidence of that statistically, that we're a corrupt society. We have got to address those small things. That is why when resources are had and to be distributed, the corruptors are going to be the ones to receive it. And those persons who don't have access to the corruption are going to be on the outskirts looking in.
Yes, and feeling excluded.
The
Tourism.
outgoing are excluded.
So whether it's tourism, oil, whatever the resource, you are foreseeing that unless we address some of these fundamentals, it may not. It might not be. It may neither be here nor there.
Absolutely. Or what you may do, you may see it as you're currently doing, but you don't access it, or you have no benefit to get anything from it except
So
this.
how can nationally, whether it is through the government or the church or whomever or whatever, how can these things be addressed so that
It
we
goes to
can
the
truly
culture.
benefit from these resources? And maybe too, we need to consider the arrangements we make with some of these foreign players who come in with licenses from the government to exploit these resources. Dr. Bourne, how can we address some of these things?
May I say something fundamental? We need to understand clearly when, if you're going to be having an investor, whether it's investing in you or anything else,
Yes.
you're going to take the resources at a cost because you need it. You're going to take it at a cost. So people may argue, listen, let's do better deals. We need to understand clearly the person who has the cash or the resource will be able to make demands and dictates on you if you don't have it. All right? So we have got to look at some other things. But let's say, for example, we were to get 10% of the resources. In a corrupt environment, that 10% could trickle down to the average person of 0%.
Yeah.
And that is where the challenge is. We need a structure that deal with some of the cultural things that are going on. And those cultural things are political things, administrative issues, and social matters to address some of the challenges we're having in Jamaica. Look at what we're doing. Instead of trying to address some of the fundamental things in Jamaica, we are building gated communities. Just think about that concept.
To deal with the crime situation.
To deal with the crime situation.
So the crime is there. So the crime isn't really fixed adequately, or not yet, or not yet. So what we do in the interim is build these little. Maybe they even feel like prisons to some extent. You
But there are false
imprison
sense of hope.
you imprison yourself.
Absolutely, without addressing the issues. So we have got to start looking at some of the things fundamentally. I said, how do I really make adjustments and address some issues? And something we're going to have to be doing are going to not be popular with both people internally and people externally.
What do you think of the legal regime as well, Dr. Bourne, where at the moment anyway in Jamaica, for instance, if they find resources beneath the earth of your property, legally it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the crown.
That goes back to slavery, sir. Look at what that obtains. So what we have done, we have moved leadership from the Caucasians. But what are the intricacies that actually held those Caucasians in power are still here? Really means you have nothing, you own nothing, but you're perceived to own things. Now, if you really want to understand what obtains, you have a piece of land, and the government decide that they want a highway through your land, and they can determine the price that they give you for that land. And you have no say in the matter. So what do you really own?
It's not quite totally just like that, but I know where you're going, because you can go to court to challenge the price. But
you may.
Having said that, yes, the overriding thing is that you can end up losing that property. Yes,
but not only losing, have little or no say. All right. So what I'm saying to you is that we've got to start looking at some of the fundamental things inside of what obtains in our system, and that system includes in the legal structure of how things are done. Now, some people don't want to look at it. How are you expecting to have peace when there's no justice?
Well, every time I raise those sorts of issues, sometimes I get a blank stare. Well, you're not giving a blank stare this morning.
So.
Interesting, sir. Interesting. Another issue which has come to the surface is, I see here something described as political ignorance, or for what are we demonstrating? There were recent demonstrations in the National Heroes Circle area about a particular issue, and it is said that when persons were asked why are they here demonstrating, or some persons when they were asked why they are here demonstrating. It is indicated that a few of them did not know why they were demonstrating, but they saw a demonstration and they are demonstrating. Your
Ah,
thoughts on that, Dr. Bourne?
you see, I'm always getting back to the basics, the culture. We have a culture in Jamaica. If you hear noise, you go and participate, right? Or you go and look.
Say that again. If you hear noise, you go and participate or you go and look.
Participate or go and look. We have that culture in Jamaica. So because we have that culture, an individual sees a demonstration, he goes and participates. But when he or she is asked, why are you here? What are some of the issues that are emerging here? They say, I don't know what this is.
They're not able to
We have got
articulate.
to address some of those issues. So what does that mean? There's need for political socialization as it relates to telling people why they're here, even before you invite them to participate. And for those who want to actually go to participate, at least do your basic reading and understanding before you participate.
Well, to my knowledge, without necessarily saying what the demonstration was said to have been about at the outset, to my understanding, it was known as to why there would be a demonstration at that location. But for whatever reason, it is indicated that a few persons who were there demonstrating had no clue why they were demonstrating.
But let's look at some issues that we don't even want to deal with. Let's look at the media.
Yes.
The traditional media holds little or no place in terms of its percentage to that of social media. All right?
Interesting point, Dr. Bourne. Interesting point, sir.
So, as a result of that,
I know I'm cutting you, but I heard someone say something just yesterday, and I'm going to say it here. I heard someone say they don't watch a certain mainstream media channel anymore or station anymore.
I have done research
for their
on
news.
media and found that
What
only 5% of Jamaicans are using
what he's watching to get his news is not what is put out there that you watch on television. He goes on his phone and he's getting news from commentators who are actually giving you the news, but they might give it from a particular perspective and with particular punctuations and the way they present it, which they prefer, more so in the Jamaican language or the Jamaican dialect, however you want to frame it. But that's where he's getting his news.
But that's it.
On a daily basis.
But I'm saying to you, I've done a research on about 1,300 Jamaicans. I found only 5% of Jamaicans are using the traditional media.
Only 5%?
5%.
5.
So people are not listening to what the traditional media is having to say. So can you imagine if social media is not actually putting out that issue? Many people are not going to know. So when you go to the demonstration, you're really not going to know because you're not looking at the traditional media that is looking at some fundamental issues that are happening in society. And if you're a social media commentator that gives you information normally, is not looking at that matter, you are ignorant as to what is going on.
You are ignorant of it if the social media commentator did not brief you first.
Absolutely. And this is where we are.
This is where we are. Dr. Bourne, never enough time on the morning watch. Do you have an issue you want to raise with us, Dr. Bourne? In 30 seconds. If not, we'll leave it for the next time.
I want the church to start looking at it's a role in what we are going to do moving forward, as it relates to even deal with the matter relating to crime and some of the social issues that are happening in Jamaica. What is the church going to do about some of these things?
Yes. What is the role of the church? What are we going to do about some of these things?
Yeah.
And we continue to just sort of stay within our space or spaces, even if we are doing things out there for the community, but at the same time, Rome is burning.
Absolutely. Think of the traditional church really made impact in terms of education, in health, in terms of issues related to justice.
Yes, schools, etc. Yes. Dr. Bourne, we have to leave it there this morning. Never have time on the morning watch, but I want to thank you for your time and for your thoughts in these snapshots of news. Very interesting, wide and varied. But thank you, sir, for all of your contributions this morning. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, and same to you.
And thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join Reverend Dr. Dylan Toussaint next week as he looks at issues of the day or the issues of the day. Visit our Love 101 FM YouTube channel and Facebook page and now TikTok at Love 101 FM Jamaica for this and all other Love 101 FM programs. Download our Love 101 app and stay connected to us, the family station, Love 101 FM, the number one gospel station in Jamaica. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and to our guests, I am Stokeley Marshall, handing it back to Love in the Morning with Jukal.
Time on Love 101 is now 8 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to Forward in Faith, brought